Hello, we are in the gallery garden room, which is a room which is downstairs at the very back of our gallery. And in this room, we've got, as part of our Modern Masters Women exhibition, Wilhelmina BarnsGraham coupled with Pat Douthwaite. It makes for a fantastic vintage room of artwork of two very different contrasting artists. Behind me is Pat Douthwaite. She was born in 1934 and she died in 2002. Figurative works were her main aspect of her work. She originally trained as a dancer before training as an artist at the encouragement of J.D. Ferguson. We've got two examples here. This is Demeter, the goddess of the harvest. And then I've got a work here from 1970, which is Woman with Reptile. Once you've seen a Pat Douthwaite work, you will never forget the experience. This is work which is very, very memorable.
Wilhelmina BarnsGraham was born in St Andrews in 1912 and studied at Edinburgh College of Art in the 1930s. Directly after her studies, she moved to St Ives in Cornwall and became closely associated with the important group of artists working in St Ives at that time. She had a fantastically varied career as an artist, and her career was often punctuated with important fact-finding trips abroad that she would use to gather inspiration for her next body of work. One such trip was to Switzerland in 1955, and the body of work that she created of the Grindelwald Glacier very much made her name as an artist. The variety in her career and her styles and her subjects is well illustrated with the two works which I'm standing in front of. Here we have an oil dating from 1947 of Grace Sheds in St Ives, next to a terrific example of her Scorpio series works, which she painted in 1996 when the artist was in her mid-80s. These works are characterised by fantastic gestural, bright brushwork, which really cemented her reputation as one of the great British abstract painters of the 20th century. Thank you.
So these two artists, Patricia Douthwaite and Wilhelmina BarnsGraham, perhaps for most people and at first sight seem polar opposites, very, very different characters, very different painters. And of course, this is true, they are very different, and the difference is very important. The difference is the distinction which makes each artist an original. But at the same time, if anyone that enters this room, anyone that studies these two painters will see some extraordinary similarities and overlaps. They both had long and productive careers, particularly BarnsGraham, and both changed and developed from early, mid to late periods. And there was a moment when Pat Douthwaite was experimenting with collage in the late 50s, and then again with a picture which recently featured in the National Gallery, the Green Shield stamps. Equally, BarnsGraham, particularly in the 1970s, used fretted pieces which she collaged onto her work. So there is an immediate link, of which there were examples by Douthwaite in this exhibition. And then later on, I think you can see also links between what I would call a kind of expressionism. Douthwaite, her expressionism rises from the human figure, very often in agony or in ecstasy. It's a sort of more dramatic expressionism in the good de Blaureiter. Whereas Wilhelmina BarnsGraham, with her association with St Ives, pulled in one direction, the cool abstraction, the sort of more analytic abstraction of Ben Nicholson, at the same time St Ives artists like Peter Lanyon and Patrick Heron, whose work forms, if you like, kind of British abstract expressionism. And certainly, BarnsGraham, at times there was an element of that, of the dominance of that more analytic abstract painting, but equally a very free, particularly later on in her life, a very free, extraordinarily vigorous, very expressive kind of painting, very gestural painting, which we have examples from the Scorpio series in this show. Strong colour, that was her vehicle, and this very dramatic gesture, whereas Douthwaite again, the gesture, dramatic, yes, but the human figure which carries us this emotional impact in her particular form of expressionism. Two very important painters to us, two very different painters, but with some extraordinary and I think fascinating similarities.